On everyone, my name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater, and I just got done diving into Black Mirror Bandersnatch. We're talking 3.5 hours I spent playing around and tinkering around with the first adult themed interactive content on Netflix, and not adult as in brown chicken brown cow. However, I do feel at one point in time there was probably a moment that could have led to that, and I think it would probably have been as impactful or as effective as what we actually got. But then again, this is Netflix, not HBO. If it would have been HBO, oh, it would have been on like Donkey Kong. So anyway, I did do a review of it. The review will be linked below. You guys can go check that out. I go through the whole thing in regards to the story with Stefan Butler and everyone else. So you can get that there. But this is more about the idea, the experiment that is choose your own adventure content on Netflix and how it kind of applies to this specific genre of content. Out of everything that they've created, when it comes to this, Black Mirror is definitely the best type of content in order to be an experiment with this particular choose your own adventure aspect. And I think for the most part, it actually works. I think for the most part, they crafted an interesting episode of Black Mirror that has a multitude of different outcomes. There are 5 endings to Black Mirror or to Bandersnatch. The problem with it is, though, is you never really know how close you are or how far away you are from the ending. And of course, this has, that's kind of how it is with Choose Your Own Adventure. You never really know which pathway is going to lead you down to down to the victory, line, if you will. But here, it feels like as much freedom as they have to kind of tell the story, they lose the story in regards to where they're going, right? So the way it works is like this, and there's going to be spoilers if you haven't already figured that out. So you got Stefan's character, and he clearly has mental problems. He's trying to make a game. He's under a lot of stress. He's trying to figure out this, he's trying to adapt to this book. We never really get the backstory of the book in order to see why it's so good. It's this huge, thick, expanding narrative, choose your own narrative based story that drove its author mad, which I guess is kind of the juxtaposition here, that it's driving him mad. But that again is so just implied that it's never really talked about. Like they spend so much time when it came to the ancillary content asking you, do you want to listen to the Thompson twins, or do you want to listen to the Bermuda Triangle, or do you want to have, sugar puffs, or do you want frosted flakes? Like little things like that are meant to set the narrative, that are meant to kind of set the tone, that are set it to your personal styles. Those little moments are pretty cool. But later on, when it was like for example, I go and I'm talking to a psychiatrist right in there, and it's like, oh, do you want to talk about your mom? Like, yeah, okay. First time I selected yes. Second time I went through, I selected no. And then it goes, are you sure? And then I'm all like, no, I don't want to do it. And then it ends up ending and taking you back to, do you want to talk about your mom? So the design of the Choose Your Own Adventure platform does a lot to basically loop you back around to what they feel is a good junction point in order for you to kind of get the full experience. The problem with that is, as they start leading themselves towards the end, they start running out of ways to expand it around. They end up kind of running into this loop, and the loop is actually, it gets split up into more of a funny one, if you will, but it gets into a bit of a crazier one at the same time, because what you do is you get the one where you get to look at a mask or like a symbol that the guy from White Bear was wearing, the dude in like the red coat and the black mask. That's the symbol that drove Jerome mad, and you get to click on that as a sign, and then it takes you into the end game for that particular storyline. Or you can select Netflix, and that's an option. And the Netflix one then basically becomes extremely self-aware, and the whole thing plays off like a joke. The last like 5 minutes are basically a joke, and they're funny. They're laughable. They're very, very, very laughable. The problem with it is, though, is that, well, it ends up basically getting yourself into a bit of a loop if you go outside of that, right? So if you want to go and you want to do the crazier, more serious ending, there are 2 options. You can either bury a body or you can chop up a body. Which ending is better? Quite frankly, the chopping up a body, I believe, is the true ending of the story. I think falling in line with Jerome Davies and all that stuff very much is exactly what the Charlie Brooker wanted you to do. So I think that is definitely that. There's also the crazier ending with the Netflix stuff, and then there's another side of it where you end up basically uncovering that there's this vast government conspiracy, which they kind of hinted at early on. So there are elements of it that work out really, really, really well. And I first thought it was a feature length film. It's not a feature length film. It's an episode of the show. So I thought for a feature, they would craft it, and whatever, but no, for containing it in such a small space, that's where they lost themselves. This actually should have been a feature film. When I looked at the time limit on it and it said 1 hour, 30 minutes, I thought to myself, oh, that's a long time. Okay, cool. So as I got to the ends, or I kept getting to the ends, I realized I had hit that end, and I'm like, oh, well, that's not very good. That's not, that's not going to work out very well for, like, I now have to readjust my expectations and realize that I'm not going to get past here at all. And then there are little elements that just don't make any sense. Like, for example, Will Poulter, right? He plays a guy named Colin, another hotshot developer. You meet his girlfriend for a very, very, very quick interaction midway through. And then if you choose to do a couple things, then she appears later on asking you where he is, and you have a choice of either you could tell her what he did do, or you can say you have no idea. And then that's quite literally it. That's it, right? Or you bury the body, and then they kind of hinted at this, what the outcome of this would be at the beginning, where the neighbor's dog was coming over and digging through the garden. And at the end, you catch the neighbor's dog digging through the garden, and then that's it. You end up going to jail. Whereas there's no other option to go out there and move the body to another location or kill the dog. You figure if you already would have killed once, you would have killed again. I don't get it. It just ends. So they hit these walls and they just end it. And there's no conclusion there. And I get that's possibly the point. I get that's entirely probably what they want to do with it. But at the same time, I think personally, I dove into this for so long, over 3.5 hours, just to try to explore as much as I could. By the end, I was so frustrated because I was just trying to get back to where I had already felt I was going the right path. And then I had to keep restarting it. I think I restarted the whole episode 4 times in order to go in and go down the different pathway. I had notes I was taking, marking each decision, marking each path. I will say though, probably, and this is what I feel is probably the most interactive part of all this, was at the end, if you go down one particular trail, you then get the opportunity to like make a phone call, and you have to remember the number, and they basically tell you what the number is, but if you're not paying attention, you miss it. And then that kind of sets up this, it proves what someone else was saying early on. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. But there's no exposition of that. It just kind of ends. That's why this should have been like, there should have been more to this. This should have been more than just an episode. And I feel as just being an experiment, it works. It's a fun ride. I don't regret my time with it at all. But it's definitely not what I anticipated, not what I expected. And I think a lot of people are going to ultimately walk away from that. The initial rush to it is going to be, yeah, this was a lot of fun. I had a great deal. I had a lot of fun with this. But at the end of the day, you're going to go, well, my decisions ultimately led to a bleak ass ending that I didn't want. And I think there's going to be expectations set by the audience that are just not going to be fulfilled. And that could have a negative impact on the popularity of Bandersnatch. That being said, it is entirely worth your time if you are a Choose Your Own Adventure fan, as I am, or if you're a Black Mirror fan, again, as I am. But if you are looking for something that is more substantive and like a deeper experiment, you're not going to find that here. And that's not anyone's fault particularly. That's just where we find ourselves. So anyway, I just wanted to put my thoughts out there on this one. I had sat down tonight thinking, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to do tutorial videos, how to get to the crazier ending, how to get to the Netflix ending, how to do this. And then the more I got into it, it's basically like, there's, you could figure that out on your own. You don't need me to tell you how to do that. It's, you'll get the hang of it about your third run through about what to do. It just might get a little bit frustrating about the second time while you're still figuring it out. But anyway, Yeah, if you guys saw it, leave your thoughts, leave your opinions. I'm curious to know. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This has been $3 Theater. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.